We recently got some news regarding the next round of Deluxe Battle Decks, so I wanted to share that with you and take some wild guesses on what these decks could be. I'm Jet from inthirdperson.com. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about Deluxe Battle Decks and what the next ones could be. But for some context, let's look at the old Deluxe Battle Decks. Right now, we have Meowscarada, Quaquaval, Ninetales, and Zapdos. And these are level 2 products. They are in the middle of the road as it comes to competitive viability and in terms of price. So they're going to be more expensive and more powerful than something like these EX battle decks. Yeah, I just recently opened the Chen Pao one as I'm building that deck right now, but they're not as strong as something like the Gardevoir League battle deck. Another defining feature of Deluxe Battle Decks is that they have 3 holofoil cards. The Meowscarada and Quaquaval ones come with 2 EXs and a Radiant card, and then the Ninetales and Zapdos ones are just 3 EX cards. And going forward, I'm not sure we're going to see Radiant cards again, but this could be an opportunity for A-Specs, but we'll get to that in a sec. Shoutouts to PTCG Radio for the drop on this news. They saw a listing. I believe this is for retailers to pre-order these products, but they saw a listing for Deluxe Battle Decks coming out on August 23rd, 2024. And I can't read this language, but it does say here, it looks like there's 2 variants. So once again, we are looking at a drop of 2 decks coming out in August. And yeah, one of the questions I have going into this next round of Deluxe Battle Decks is, will it come with an A-Spec card? This is something we talked about with the League Battle Decks, and I'm still not entirely sure. It would be nice. I'm not sure about the role of A-Specs in Deluxe Battle Decks, because now we're only getting 3 holofoil cards, and A-Specs can be important to the deck, but you kind of still need the Pokemon in order to finish it. So I still feel like the Pokemon would be more important, but I do understand that these A-Specs at times can be expensive, and they're probably going to be more expensive than a 3rd copy of an EX card. So I can understand people wanting an A-Spec with these Deluxe Battle Decks versus just a 3rd copy of that EX card. So we'll have to wait and see if we are going to be getting A-Specs in Deluxe Battle Decks. My guess says no. I think we have a better shot of getting them in League Battle Decks, but I could be wrong. Another thing to consider here is the rotation safeness of these fall decks. Now, the Pokemon Company have already set a precedent that they are willing to put cards into this fall drop of Deluxe Battle Decks that will rotate in the following rotation. Meowscarada had like the Eldegoss line, and there's something else in the Quaquaval line or the Quaquaval deck, where those rotated about 7 to 8 months after they were released. And that's kind of the cutoff for Pokemon when they put out these pre-constructed decks, is that they want these decks to live as long as possible in the standard format, but if there is a shorter lifespan, the minimum that they will go is about 7 to 8 months. And odds are these Deluxe Battle Decks will feature cards that will rotate in the 2025 rotation. So do with that information what you will. Some people are going to be annoyed by that. I don't necessarily think they'll pick archetypes that will completely fall apart in the 2025 rotation, but odds are there will be some cards you will have to replace in these decks in 7 to 8 months after they release. So yeah, I think with all of that out of the way, let's take some wild guesses on what these could be. Again, I have no insider info on what these are, and based on past precedent, these could literally be anything, right? Me trying to deduce based on competitive viability and all that gets thrown out the window when they're willing to build a deck around Zapdos EX, which really at best is a one of Tekken Miraidon. So these could be anything. Take all of this with a grain of salt, and feel free to put your guesses on what a Deluxe Battle Deck could be, what the next ones could be. And my first pick is Goldengo EX. This is a deck that I think is a really good candidate for a Deluxe Battle Deck specifically. It has a great ability, helps you draw cards. It has a solid attack that can potentially one-hit KO anything in the game. It is on the fringes of the meta. It's got a number of day 2 placements, some top 8s, and even has a win recently at the Puerto Rico special event. So this is a deck that does has some competitive potential here, and you can theoretically build this with 3 holo foil cards. Now, you're probably not getting Radiant Greninja, and you're almost certainly not getting Palkia as part of that list, but I think a standalone deck with 3 Goldengo EXs is totally fine within the context of a middle level deluxe battle deck with some room to grow. So Goldengo is I think, a perfect candidate for the deluxe battle deck treatment. We also have a Spothra EX. It does have a great ability, making it difficult for your opponents to attack. It's a really annoying attack too, where, yeah, you're doing more damage based on the amount of energy your opponent puts on their Pokemon. Well, combined on both Pokemon. I wonder if this is actually too strong. Like, that whole Dazzling Gaze ability is going to be profoundly annoying for beginner to intermediate level players to play around, but I do think it's a really good archetype, and it is on the fringes of the competitive meta. We have seen this deck make some deep day 2 runs, and I think you could build it with 3 holo foil cards. Just give me 3 Espathra and we're okay. Yes, Baynet has become more of a staple in this deck of late, but I think that's a relatively easy fix, and if you were to give players just an Espathra deck straight up, I think that would be totally fine. We also have this one's a bit of a reach. I think that Roaring Moon could be a league battle deck, but I also think it could be a deluxe battle deck. Great attacks. It's a card that has seen some success in competitive play, multiple top 8s at regionals and internationals. And I think that if we were building the Roaring Moon build with the Dunsparce, this actually could be a great fit in a deluxe battle deck, where all you really have to worry about for holo foil cards is the Roaring Moon EX, the Dunsparce, and the Baby Roaring Moon you could have as non-holos. And actually, I have my Chien-Pao deck here, and for any sort of regular holo cards, like single prize holo cards, they will usually turn those into non-holo cards. So I've got the Baxcalibur here from the Chien-Pao deck, and this is, if you were to pull this from a pack, it's going to be holo foil, but in the context of the EX battle deck, they actually took the holo off. So I suspect if Roaring Moon were to get a deluxe battle deck, they would do the same for the Baby Roaring Moon and for the Dunsparce, and you just get 3 Roaring Moon EXs. And I think this would be a really cool deck to get in this format. Now, this deck might actually kind of fall off a cliff in a world where Dragapult exists, but I still think in the context of a deluxe battle deck, players getting started out, this would be awesome as a deluxe battle deck. Raging Bolt is one that could be on the rise. Raging Bolt has been getting some buzz in Japan as potentially a Dragapult EX counter. I actually have a ton of fun playing Raging Bolt, and I built it myself. I pulled one Raging Bolt, and then I went to a store and they had Raging Bolt and Sandy Shocks for super cheap, so I just did it, which makes me feel really good because it seems like this deck is poised to make a run here in Twilight Masquerade. I think it would be great to get a Raging Bolt deck as a deluxe battle deck, but there are some challenges in terms of EXs. Like, we could be running Sandy Shocks in here as well, and I think if you want to run stuff like Sandy Shocks or Ogerpon, which seems to be a great partner for Raging Bolt, you're probably not going to fit that in the context of a deluxe battle deck, and maybe something like a league battle deck would be better. But I do think Raging Bolt could be a cool option here. Now we're starting to get like a little deeper towards the bottom of the barrel here. Gouging Fire, I think at the very least, is a notably better, a notably better attacker than Ninetales EX. And it does have a handful of top placements in Asia, including a first place victory at Thailand Regional League. So it does have some competitive viability to it, even if it hasn't been realized outside of Asia. The problem potentially is that if you're looking to build a Gouging Fire based Firebox deck with some stuff like Entei, Delphox, Radiant Charizard, you're not going to be able to fit those there. But I think if Pokemon is willing to build a Ninetales EX deck, I think they could do a Gouging Fire deck, and Gouging Fire would definitely be an upgrade over Ninetales EX. This one's a little bit of a stretch, I admit, right? Chien-Pao I think it also would be a great pick, to be honest. It has a great ability. It's one of the most popular competitive decks, And I think what makes me think the Deluxe Battle Deck could be a better fit for it than a League Battle Deck is you can build this in 3 Hollow Foil cards. You do 2 Chen Pao and her Radiant Greninja. You could even just do 3 Chen Pao, and that would probably be okay. And some of the other weird quirks in the past that have recently gone away is that Pokemon have kind of backtracked on their whole idea of that if a Pokemon gets featured on a deck, we're not going to use that Pokemon again in another deck. We recently saw a Miraidon level 1 deck when they already have a level 3 Miraidon League Battle deck. Now, they're technically 2 different Miraidon cards, but they have 2 Miraidon decks in stores, or at least they're going to have 2 Miraidons in stores soon. So theoretically, you could make another Charizard deck, or not Charizard, another Chen Pao deck. And it technically fits in their timeline for how long a pre-constructed deck can see standard legal. But I think the biggest drawback here is that Chen Pao is going to lose a lot of big cards in the 2025 rotation. You're losing Greninja, Pokestop, Irida, Bibarel, Heavy Ball, and Chen Pao is probably going to be a very different deck. Like, you still have Chen Pao, you still have Baxcalibur, and those are the essentials. But in 2025, once it rotates, this will be a very different thing. And I'm not sure Pokemon wants Chen Pao in that context. Like, it will probably sell well in the immediate term, but people buying it afterwards might be really annoyed at a lot of the deck falling apart once rotation hits. Incineroar, it's a popular Pokemon. It does have a really cool attack that hits hard. It has seen a couple of online placements here and there. I think it was Late Night or one of those major online tournaments where it almost won the whole thing. And this is a deck that no one's playing in-person major events or anything like that. But I do think it's a Pokemon that is popular. It has potential. It's certainly better than Ninetales EX or Zapdos, or Quaquaval for that matter, probably on the same tier, if not a bit lower than something like a Meowscarada. So I think it's totally fine to get this as a Deluxe Battle Deck. Couple more here. Gengar, no one's playing this at a competitive level, but it is a popular Pokemon. It is a Pokemon that has an attack that's pretty easy to power up, especially if they put Dark Patch in the deck. And you could theoretically build this with 3 Hollow Foil cards. Just give us a draw engine like, I don't know, Bibarel or something like that, and we should be fine. And a couple more here. Blastoise, it's a popular Pokemon, great ability where it makes it give its effectively 360 HP. Its attack can hit for up to 280 damage, and some could argue you could build this with 3 Hollow Foil cards, right? You throw in like a Baxcalibur is not actually a great pick for Blastoise EX, but if you're fine without the Palkia or I know they're essential pieces, but I think having Blastoise as a starting point and you can grab the other pieces later, that could be okay as well. And my last potential pick, to just throw it out there, Garchomp EX. Garchomp is a popular Pokemon. I think it has great attacks, 1 energy for 160 damage, and you get to power up basic fighting energy onto your bench Pokemon. Really nice attack. You could build it in 3 Hollow Foil cards with just 3 Garchomp EX. And what I really like about Garchomp in the context of a Deluxe Battle Deck is that Garchomp is also your energy acceleration. You could throw in a bunch of filler attackers here, and Garchomp could make them better just by virtue of being able to accelerate fighting energy to all of those bench Pokemon. So I think this would be a great pick as well as a sort of middle of the road deck idea, or like deck concept for a Deluxe Battle Deck. But what say you? Or what do you think the next Deluxe Battle Deck could be? Again, this could be anything. If the Pokemon Company is willing to sell us Zapdos and Ninetales as Deluxe Battle Decks, it could be anything. But yeah, are you excited for the August drop of these Deluxe Battle Decks? Do you need more information? What would you like to see get the Deluxe Battle Deck treatment? Let me know in the comments below. But for now, I got to get going. Thank you so much for watching. You can find me on all the things: YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at InThirdPerson. You can find me on Twitch at InThirdPerson, where I stream the Pokemon trading card game every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And check out the website, inthirdperson.com, for more articles and videos on video games, board games, and other nerdy pursuits. So until the next one, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.